Hey everybody, welcome back to the 2024 calendar shoot with Fire and Safety Services, the Pierce dealer in New Jersey. So we've been working on this project, and today for April, we're debuting Quint 2235 out of Evesham Fire and Rescue. Deputy Chief Scott Friedman. Chief, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and welcome to Evesham Township.
This is cool. It's a nice design, and let's just jump right into it. It's a Quint 2022 Impel, an Ascendant 107-foot rear mount single axle aerial. So there's a lot happening here. A lot in a small package. Give me a little background about why you decided to go with a Quint.
So the Quint concept is something that's new to us here. The Quint concept was important to us because we're trying to be all things to all people at one particular time. These guys who are assigned to this company are out on the street. I need them to be able to respond to the first there was an engine company. I need them to respond in their second there was a ladder company. And that was the reason behind us moving to the Quint concept. Prior to this, we were a 6-engine company department with 2 straight ladder companies. These guys were riding to their second due 90% of the time on a truck that didn't have any hose capability, didn't have any water capability. While going to the call wasn't so much of an issue, returning from the incident was where we found ourselves at our greatest vulnerability. So the Quint concept works for us because they don't have to return to the station into an engine company in order to go out and do their work in their first due.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about it as we go, so thank you for having us. Thanks for being April's featured apparatus. Let's take a tour of the truck.
Absolutely.
All right, Chief, so here we are at the front bumper. We're gonna start the behind the build series at the front bumper like we do, because the front bumper has become really an active space for a lot of different features for departments. Explain to me what you guys decided to do up front.
We were looking for options. We started using the front bumper on our 2010 Arrows. It was real minimal. We had a single attack line, found that it was working for us. However, we felt like we could use the space better. This particular bumper is a 22-inch bumper from cab to front. We took advantage of some additional features with extensions in the area to give us some depth in the compartments. We have 200 feet of 1.75 inch. They're using in a variety of different fashions, interior, exterior. We have 150 feet of additional 1.75 inch just for exterior trash fires, car fires, stuff like that.
Well, it makes sense, right? So you're running a Quint. It's got a 500-gallon tank. You're running the puck design, which allowed you to give more compartmentation. We'll get to that as we walk around the side. You're limited to how many pre-connected lines you can have coming off of this. You have speed lays off the sides. You only have one discharge off the rear, and then you have your supply line, right? So where else can we get more functionality out of our truck? It's the front bumper. 200 foot that you can use for structural, as well as that 150 for vehicle and trash fires. And you still have another trough available for supply line. So it's a really nice setup. Other considerations too, the size. I mean, when you scope this out, getting the rolled steel and understanding, you know, your pinch points and things like that, it's really well done.
We struggled with this because we had the ability to go out to 26-inch wide bumper. We were worried about length, keeping the wheelbase as short as possible so we didn't hit anything, but giving us the ability to carry as much hose as possible.
Yeah, good. Well, it's a beautiful setup, so thank you for sharing the insight on that. So as we walk around the truck, we'll have a lot more to talk about. So guys, stay tuned as we take the tour around. Okay, Chief, so as we begin our tour around the apparatus, around your Quint, it's a 2022 Impel design, so it gives you a little bit more square footage on the cab versus some of the other options.
We wanted to get from a 96-inch standard chassis cab width to the 100-inch width to give some more space to our firefighters. That was the big complaint we got with the Arrow. Specifically, the officer seat was very tight. We moved to this model in 2019. We got a lot of great positive feedback about the velocity. We continued with the Impel in this particular Quint. They like the full view window in the front, which gives them an unimpeded vision.
So we're running a 6-man cab. You're having 4 forward-facing seats. Compartmentation is important, right? And especially a Quint, you could be going from truck company operations to engine company, but you're also running medical. You're also running the potential for rescue services and so on.
We need to be all things to all people. You know, we need to serve every aspect of the community. We're trying to do that in this particular model of a truck. These guys assigned to this station and assigned to this unit live on this truck. They take this truck everywhere. This is their primary piece. So it gives us a good foundation for our deployment model, the way our boxes are laid out.
You said something else that was super important too to you guys was the comfort for the crews as well, right? So choosing that Impel chassis gives you a little bit more width, a little more space, but also the forward faced seating is important as well.
Yeah, we traditionally sat opposing from each other. We felt that riding forward gives them a little bit better field of vision. They're able to see everything that's going on in front of them. They're able to do their own personal size up as they're pulling up to the scene. We really thought that that was an important aspect when we laid this particular truck out. As far as compartmentation, the standard glass window that usually sits here, we option to take it out in lieu of a compartment. This compartment is accessible from here, from the exterior of the truck. It's also accessible from the interior of the cab. This compartment here is designed for turnout gear, some ancillary equipment related to active shooter, and then on the other side of the truck, you got a same compartment for the officer. The cab in the rear, all of your equipment that we would carry, EMS related equipment, stuff that needs to be in a climate controlled environment, is in the compartment configuration of the doghouse. We carry some of our water related rescue stuff, our ice rescue stuff, suits and helmets and stuff like that in the cab as well, so that they can be donned in a controlled environment, in a heated environment, and those guys can deploy out when they get to the scene.
There's a lot in a small package, and I think when you have a multifunctional company that has to wear many different hats, you have to design that apparatus around the services that they're going to provide. And so the compartmentation on the inside is real estate that really needs to be maximized to its fullest potential to be sure we can store everything.
And that's an important aspect that you just mentioned, designing your truck around your operations. What is the target for this particular truck? What are we looking to accomplish with this particular truck? And then we design it around that whole type of that whole operation. So,
well, really well done. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it. All right, Chief, so here we are on the driver's side. We're at the pump module. You guys elected to go with the puck design. It's a unique aspect of what Pierce Manufacturing offers in their pump design. 1,500 GPM, you got 480 gallons of water, 20-gallon foam cell with your Husky 3 system. Talk to me why you guys elected and chose to go with the puck design.
So this is our first puck. We are a traditional side-mounted pump panel company. All of our pumpers were designed in the same fashion. The puck was important to us with this particular truck. Compartment space and capacity gave us a little extra area of compartmentation. It also gave us the ability to carry a little bit more in the way of ground ladders when we get to the rear of the truck. We went with the puck, basically gave us this area here between the cab and the pump panel of a little bit of extra space behind the pump panel and then up to the crosslay area. Our traditional water capacity was 750 gallons. Prior to purchasing this Quint, we relied heavily on an engine, 750 gallons of water, 1,200 feet of 5-inch. Ladders were dry. Coming into this, there were some concessions to be made. 500 was the max as far as water capacity. Hose capacity was a little bit limited from what we were accustomed to. We looked at how we could maximize that water delivery in our fire attack, and that's where we went with the Husky 3. We took a 20-gallon hit in water capacity in order to accommodate 20 gallons of foam. The foam gives us a little bit more of a power punch and ability to suppress the fire a little quicker. And our thought process was that we would make up what we would lose with the 250 gallons of water by adding a little bit of foam to the suppression effort. Standard pump panel that you would find in a typical puck, very untraditional to us. Everything we always purchased was pull levers. This is our first slide lever type pump panel. A little bit different configuration, which we couldn't get away from because of the puck. So it was a little bit of a learning curve for us. We do a ton of training on this truck to make sure that muscle memory is there. It's worked well for us. As far as the crosslay configuration, this was an area that we spent a ton of time on. We hand drew the compartment. We worked hand in hand with engineering out in Wisconsin and Appleton to make sure that we can get the appropriate height between the bottom of the crosslay and the top of the crosslay, but still accommodate ladders at the top, the backboard, and the pike pole. The pull-through trough configuration for the crosslays, what you can't see here is that we notched back the actual poly troughs in order to give us the ability to get in here and grab loops.
So you're running 1 3/4, you have 2 inch, you also have 2.5 speed lays in here. So, and on top of that too, compartmentation, it's transverse. So this now allows you to have smaller ladder, pike poles and things like that. Your backboards are coming off the other side and things like that. So that upper transverse is important too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pre-piped to the crosslays for all 3 bays. The 2 inch or 2.5 is not connected.
Right.
We leave it dead. But we do that because we're trying to estimate the stretch, but we do have the ability to connect into the swivel up there, or we can connect directly into the side discharge over here.
I think one of the other unique things about the puck design too offered by Pierce Manufacturing is that it helps you with a shorter wheelbase also. And I know that was important to you. This apparatus, this Quint, is at 39 feet 6 inches. I think you said the wheelbase is 242 inches, I believe you said.
Right, we went max wheelbase, which is 242 inches. That was as long as we can get the wheelbase within the spec. And that was done to maximize, obviously, the ability for us to carry equipment and to meet our ground ladder requirements. Keeping it under 40 feet was important for a lot of the tight areas that we're dealing with down in this region, in this community that they serve in their first due. We were moving away from a 48-foot tandem axle ladder, which was a challenge to navigate into cul-de-sacs and stuff like that, and that was one of the main reasons why we stayed away from the tandem rear axle ascendant Quint model. They could put this thing just about anywhere. It's working for us. It works for us across the township and throughout the township. It actually works well in our mutual aid communities too.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it. So as we walk down, we'll now look at the configuration of the compartment. Okay, Chief, so we're walking down the driver's side, compartmentation. I know that was really important to you guys because as you're shrinking your footprint from an old tandem axle rear mount aerial to a smaller package single axle Quint, compartmentation is important. We can't lose the real estate because you're a multi-function company, right? You're wearing a lot of hats here, doing a lot of different types of work. Talk to me about what the idea was behind that and then what you guys came up with.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, they live on this truck. They got to be an engine and a ladder. So we had to balance out the equipment that we need. I had to prioritize that equipment in order to make sure we had essentially what we felt was the best fit for what they needed to do or what they were going to do, regardless of what function they were working within. You have your engineer's compartment, typical standard compartment, you know, fittings and hose and stuff, and hose and nozzles and stuff like that. We needed to make sure we were equipped for high-rise and mid-rise firefighting. We built this compartment, which is the same compartment ideally to what our pumpers look like, maintain that consistency as far as location and what we're carrying in this particular compartment area.
So, I mean, obviously your high-rise, your extended leg, your high-rise packs, you have your high-rise bag and so on. And then of course what every truck company loves is their saw compartment.
Right. We could not give in the saw area. We needed to carry as much as we were carrying on the previous tandem axle truck. We did everything we could to maintain our 2 rotary saws, our 1 Ventmaster chainsaw, and then we added battery operated components to the truck. This was new for us. These have actually come to be highly versatile for our operation. We can use them in general cleanup type situations. We can use them in overhaul and confining areas. We do a lot of USAR for county and for the southern part of the state. This has become a very, very important part of our operation as far as the battery operated component.
The versatility of the electric, especially on the rotary, is a home run.
Yeah, it's added a new dimension to our operation, you know, and it's really worked out well. But when you look at the trays and the dividers and the compartmentation and the pegboards and all that stuff, we tried to keep it as simple as possible. Nothing overly complicated. Everything has a place. Everything was designed with a purpose on this particular truck. The fabrication was Fire and Safety up in North Jersey. They did a wonderful job with a lot of the metal fab, all the holders for the saws. We gave them some guidance, we gave them what we were looking for, and they just ran with it, and it was really good. It came out really nice, so we're really pleased with it.
You know, a great part of the process is when a committee has their stuff together, right? You know the equipment that's going in the truck, you know the equipment and where it needs to be, how it's grouped and gathered and put together for form, fit, and function, right? It just makes a huge difference if you have that and know that going into it.
And again, as I said earlier, you have to identify what the purpose of the vehicle is before you can go anywhere else with the specification of the truck. That's how we start every single truck process. Is what's the purpose of this truck? What are we trying to accomplish with this truck? And then from there, that's where the rest of it comes to be.
Beautiful. Chief, thank you very much for the tour down the driver's side. We're going to go around the rear, really talk about what a Quint can be about. Not just the pump, but also the ladders. We got a 107-foot heavy-duty aerial on top. We're running 16 and 20-foot roof ladders on the side of the aerial, but I want to get to the ladder box in the rear and talk about what you have there too.
Absolutely.
All right, Chief, so we're in the rear. Let's talk about this. If we're running as an engine and a truck company, we obviously have to have ground ladders. Talk to me about what was important to you when designing the build out for ground ladders.
So we were trying to get as many linear feet of ground ladders as humanly possible. We focused more on extension ladders, less on roof ladders throughout this truck, whether it's in the back here or up on the aerial. Traditionally, we carry 35 two-section ground ladders and 28 two-sections. We stick with the 28s for some of our 3-story townhouses that are littered throughout this town. We were unfortunately not able to get to the 28-foot duo safety in the configurations that we were looking at because of the design design of the ladder. Took a bit of a concession and went back to 24-foot extension ladder. So we're carrying two 24s. Each engine company has a 28-foot extension ladder. Over here, we were shooting for 235s with a 16 and a 20-foot roof in here. It wasn't quite going to work once we got through engineering. We took a concession. The concession here was to drop 135 in order to accommodate the 20 and the 16-foot ground ladder. We knew we were going to have to make trade-offs with a shorter wheelbase truck and a Quint style concept, and this is one of those areas we had to do that. So.
But you do have up top, not only is it a steel heavy-duty aerial, 107 foot, but you also have two roof ladders up top too. You have a 20 and a 16, I believe, also.
Yeah, we have a 20 and a 16 mounted to the officer side of the aerial main. Driver's side of the aerial Stokes basket that allows us to do our specialized stuff. That gave us a little bit more in the way of ground ladders up to add to the total length that we were looking for as far as capacity. We were trying not to build a truck that had just the minimum amount of ladders on it. We wanted to build something that was as close to a truck company by the NFPA standards as humanly possible, and this is how we ended up with where we are.
The interesting conversation is you know, you're taking the functionality of two different apparatus and putting them into one wheelbase. There's going to be some type of concession that's going to have to be.
There's got to be give and take, and we knew that was going to be the case, and you know, I think we did a pretty good job in managing that give and take. It wasn't easy, but I think we did a pretty good job in managing priorities versus what we figured as primary priorities and secondary stuff that we can probably live without if we had to.
And the versatility of the truck too, right? Short footprint, we said it's 39.6 overall. There's no rear step. There are fold-out steps here underneath that simply pop out. You can get up top. You're running a 3-inch line with an Elkhart ram, and then we're running 5-inch supply line also. How much 5-inch?
5-inch is 800 feet. Standard on our pumpers was 1,200. We tried to get as close as we could to that because we do have some older sections of town where the hydrants aren't as close together as they are in the newer sections. So we were trying to manage that aspect in our design.
And then the versatility of the short footprint on the truck. The nice thing about the Ascendant design on the single axle, you're talking one downrigger in the rear and then two outriggers, one on each side.
Yeah, setup is easy. The outriggers themselves, you're dealing with a straight setup configuration where you're deploying two ground pads. It takes a lot of time away from the setup process. It's important that we're able to get this thing into the right position, set it up quickly, and go to work.
Well, the chauffeur is going to be busy, right? In a Quint
absolutely.
company, depending on what that initial discipline is on arrival, if they're stretching a line or going right to truck work, all depends. But that chauffeur, that's going to be a very busy seat with a lot of activity.
Oh, absolutely, and we take full advantage of our chauffeur. Even in a 4-man, 5-man company, that chauffeur is working hard. He's throwing ground ladders, he's pumping the truck, he's doing a lot of things that are exterior of the building.
Appreciate it. What a great review in the rear of the truck. Let's work our way around the officer side. All right, Chief, so here we are, officer side rear. You said this is your favorite compartment, in fact. There's a lot happening here in this footprint, so break it down for me. Tell me what was important and what the function is.
We took the liberty to remove the officer side ladder to the platform, and we did that so we can gain additional space for compartmentation. We were working off of a concept that this was going to be our secondary rescue, where these guys can get started on an extrication in their first due while they're waiting for the heavy rescue to show up. We never really had that capability prior to this truck. We were specific in designing this compartment in this way so that we can add additional tools, get away from a standard combi tool and get to a combi tool with a cutter and a spreader, accommodate all that stuff, enough cribbing that we can stabilize vehicles as far as box cribbing and wood cribbing, some stabilization in the Rescue 42s and the junkyard dog that we carry on the pegboard back here. But this compartment was designed to be the initial approach to an extrication type event in this first due and then south of our township as we head towards the county line. Again, the fabrication was done at Fire and Safety up in North Jersey, did a wonderful job mounting the Hamatra tools to a point where they are secured without strapping, which is important to us. It gives us a little bit of a quicker access to the tool to get moving.
I think what's really, fun to see is that you can tell that you worked hand in hand with Fire and Safety and their upfitting department to make sure, because we talked again, it's a small footprint with a lot of different types of equipment, and so you need to maximize space. And a lot of times departments that don't bring in dealers or the manufacturer to help them in the upfitting process, sometimes they'll lose some space. For you guys to maximize the efficiency of the build out using Fire and Safety and the crew there to build out what your expectations were, it's an absolute win.
You bring up a good point, because fabrication of mounts and brackets and holding devices within the compartment are different than buying aftermarket third-party product. They can customize these to be as wide as they need to be or as narrow as they need to be, which maximizes the space. You don't always get that when you're buying something off the shelf. That was one of the reasons why we elected to do a full fab for this particular tray right here. We built this compartment on the floor while we were in the specification process, just to make sure that our numbers and our dimensions were accurate enough that we can articulate that to engineering so they can put this together and make sure it was going to work.
Great insight on that. Let's keep moving up the truck. All right, Chief, so here we are, we're on the officer's side. I want to talk about a couple different things, right? What's really interesting to me, and we've been harping on this as we walked around, is the importance of wearing so many different hats. You're a multifaceted company, right? So there's a lot of different disciplines that they might have to do in one shift. This compartment here, this is all specialized equipment, right? So talk to me a little bit about some of the disciplines that they run off this truck.
Obviously, RIT is a component of the truck company. They do a lot of mutual aid, rapid intervention. We needed to make sure that we were equipped to handle all of those RIT assignments. So that's one aspect of this compartment. They carry some light rigging. As I said earlier, we are part of the USAR program, so the USAR discipline includes high angle rescue. They carry a rigging bag and some life safety rope to get them started if they happen to be first due, while they're waiting for the heavy rescue to show up with the balance of the USAR equipment on it. They're in a rural and suburban environment down here, lots of lakes. In this particular area here, there's 3 lakes within 1,000 or 2,000 feet of the station. They have the ability to act or react to calls associated with water rescue, ice surface rescue and stuff like that. So that's a lot of the equipment that we're carrying down here, and also stuff that's carried in the cab as far as the PPE and a lot of the safety stuff that they need in order to get into the water.
Which was important, right, when factoring in what you're building this truck around. You know, you talked about the importance of understanding the function and knowing what the disciplines are of this Quint, I should say. So it was important to have space for this equipment.
When you start looking at shelving and dividers and stuff like that, we designed everything that can be adjustable. So we can slide stuff, we can lift stuff up and down on tracks, so we can make sure everything fits snugly and that we maximize the space.
Good.
So
and then what are we doing here?
So this compartment is your ancillary ventilation type stuff as far as fans, fire extinguishers, which we're required to carry as part of the NFPA requirements for the apparatus. This particular compartment, we mirrored off of a PA truck. We liked the concept of it. We thought that they used the space really well.
So speccing out the compartmentation for that, you got to make sure that you have power requirements here so that we could charge them on board and so on.
So we did. Everything's run off the shoreline. There's a surge protector in here that's powered to charge AC and DC. It's always charging the batteries.
I think the compartmentation is important here, right? Speccing out where you want those surge protectors, where you want that electric run, especially for AC power, right? Extinguisher mounts, very well thought out. And then up above?
Up above, just some light rescue stuff from a USAR perspective. Our Petrogen torch, which is a smaller iteration of the larger one that we carry on the heavy duty rescue, allows them to get started if they're dealing with something that they need to cut with. We decided to go away from oxyacetylene, mainly because the Petrogen units are a little bit more efficient in their operation. Fuel is readily available on all our apparatus, and we don't have to worry about running out of acetylene per se, which is something that's hard for us to kind of get while we're in the field. It allowed us to carry something a little smaller without having to carry spare bottles. Oxygen is readily available on all our apparatus through our medical equipment and even on our ambulances, so we always have access to oxygen. Fuel is carried throughout the truck in many different capacities, whether it's pre-mixed or straight.
Great considerations, just simple compartmentation, but a lot put into it to make sure you can get the most bang for your buck. So we worked our way to the front of the truck. What a great tour. There's a lot happening here in a small package. Congratulations on the Quint. Thank you for having us and being the featured apparatus for April.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time you spent with us, and we're happy to have you guys here.